Hi, folks. It is the end of another year, the end of 2025, which means it's the RSVP episode. So, long-time listeners of the podcast will know that the final episode of the year is generally a reflection from me and an invitation to undertake the RSVP activity. So there's a download if you want the worksheet. I am old school, and as I will flick through, I scribble on this. So if you're also old school and want to scribble, there's a download in the show notes, or you can do it online, or you can just grab a piece of paper and do it in that way. So what is RSVP? RSVP has 4 steps. First up, review or reflect on the year that was. Secondly, what are your superpowers or your strengths? Thirdly, what are your values and how might you be able to align to them more strongly? And then fourthly, what is your purpose for the coming year? So this is all about setting your intentions for the coming year. And I thought what I would do is take you through my reflections as I did this process, because I do it every year as well. First up, reflect on the year that was. Some of the prompting questions around that include, what are 3 things that you're proud of from the past year? What are some of the challenges that you faced? If you could wave a magic wand, what might you change? What didn't serve you well? What beliefs or people or circumstances, assumptions or blocks have held you back? What surprised you most about the year? And what word or phrase sums up the year that was? So for me, my word of the year last year, when I did this process last year, my reflection, my word of the year became reconnect with connecting, because I realized that somehow, I don't know how when I'm the connector in chief, but somehow during 2024, I hadn't done enough connecting of the community nor enough connecting of me. So that was part of what I focused on for 2025. And let me tell you, I did it in spades. Oh God, there is no way I'll be able to talk you through all of this stuff. There was take on board events, there was online events, I think there was 4 of them. There was meetups, I think 2 or 3 of them in various parts, maybe even more. There was catch-ups of my own community as well. We have an annual catch-up with the Asylum Seeker Project, an organisation I worked at, I think, 12 years ago. There is an annual catch-up of the board. I love it. There was a catch-up of the YWCA alumni, also a board I was on many years ago. Monash Law, gosh, I went there decades ago. There was a reunion this year. I did lots of walks and talks. I focused on that a little bit this year, catching up with people and going for a walk rather than catching up over breakfast or lunch or whatever. A little bit of that as well. It was awesome. There's all these individual ones popped here, take on board meetups, Noosa and Sydney and Melbourne. Oh, the alumni dinner, the take on board alumni dinner, always my favourite night of the year, like 50 or 60 alumni from there, 200 to 300 strong alumni coming together. Oh, the Women's Health Directors Network. We had our first in-person event. There was a lot. I feel like I really did reconnect with connecting. There was also a whole bunch of stuff about self-care. So I continued my Pilates. I've been going at least twice a week. And in fact, in December, because I bought a class pass by mistake, I've been going 3 or 4 times a week. So that's awesome. Lots of walks. I've actually been having monthly massages to fix a little crook in my neck that has been with me for decades. And the what are they called? The remedial masseur is a magician and is making progress. Oh, I did the Jatbula hike. Oh, that brings me to travels. So I went to India earlier in the year. I went to Taiwan in September and I did the Jatbula hike, which is a big hike up in the Northern Territory. That was the most beautiful hike. There's a podcast episode about that too, if you want to hear some of the beautiful watercourses in the background, because I recorded whilst I was on the hike. Oh, it was a pretty awesome year. I will also reflect on the year. This part is, well, you know me, I'll make it glass half full, even though really some of it wasn't. I will also reflect that, it's important to celebrate. Let's put it this way. It's important to celebrate beginnings and endings. There was a couple of people who passed away this year who were close to me, and also people who passed away who were close to people that I am close to. So in each instance, the celebration of their life was magnificent. And it is a reminder for us to celebrate things along the way. One of the things that I do, random aside, one of the things that I do to celebrate along the way is whenever I chair board meetings, I open the board meeting with what's something that's made you smile this week. It is a tiny little thing, but we do an around the room, something that's made you smile this week. And it is just a little practice that I like to build into what I do to build that celebration. So, like I say, losing people is never fun. However, building in a celebration of their life, I think, is really important, and taking away from it what's important to us and making sure we live our lives in a way that aligns for ourselves and for the people around us. I think it's a good reminder to do that. So that, I think, was my reflection on the year that was. So much awesomeness. The next step in the RSVP process is S. S is for superpowers or strengths. Some of the prompting questions that might help you come up with them. When you're in the zone, what are the sorts of things that you tend to be doing? What are the sorts of things that other people say that you're good at? What do you tend to be doing that gives you energy? So if you think about those things, that will help you come up with your strengths. And for those that go, oh, I don't know, I'm not so good at things. You are. Of course you are. There are many things that you're awesome at. If you're finding it hard to identify it for yourself, I strongly recommend you just ask a couple of people. If it's in relation to board work, ask the board chair or ask a board colleague or ask your board mentor, what are the things that you're seeing from me in the boardroom that you think work well? Or if it's just in life broadly, then ask colleagues, ask friends, what are the things that you think I'm good at? My punt is, it is the things that you will find easy, that you will find energizing, that you are in the zone for, that you might not even think is a strength, but it is. So for me, just to give you an example, one of my strengths, and it took me quite some time to come to terms with this, it's just connecting people. Mostly when I meet with people, I will say, oh, who can I connect you with that might be helpful? Or I'll be talking to people and I'll go, oh, you should talk to, this person, or you should talk to that person. And I will facilitate an introduction. It's just what I do. It is one of my innate things. And I didn't think that that was particularly a strength, but it's not what everybody does. It is what I do. Other people have their own strengths. I have my strengths. So really think about what your strengths are. For me, probably around connecting, positivity and energy, and holding space for others, whether that's in a workshop, whether that's in a coaching session, whether that's in the group programs that I run. It's always about just holding space for those really deep, insightful, and wise conversations to occur. Step 3. Step 3 is about values. What is it that is deep in your heart that you need to really focus on to help guide what you do, or what do you want to feel more of? There is a whole bunch of prompting questions here. I'm not going to go through them all, but there's 2 activities that might help. There's a values list that you can just download and scribble on, or there is an online values assessor. Let me warn you, if you do the online values assessor, there are some difficult decisions to be made there, but that is exactly what identifying your key values is all about. You are very likely to have a whole bunch of values that help to guide what you do, but coming up with your 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 key values is really going to help you, because if there's 20 of them, how do you decide which are the most important and can help guide what you do? So some of the things you might do, like I say, there's an online or a download for the values activity. You might think about the end of next year, push yourself forward. What are the key memories that you want to have stood out for you? What have the people who you really care about said about you? How have you been spending the majority of your time? How is your health? What regrets might you have? The other things that you might think about: when was the last time you felt awesome and what were you doing? When you're really in the groove, what are the feelings that come up for you? And other than happy, what are some of the emotions that you want to feel? So for me, my guiding values that will continue into the future: love, fun, purpose. Love. I love what I do. I love the people around me. I make space for that where I can make space. There you go. Hold space for others, make space for me. I also really love having fun. And again, I'm fortunate that in my work and outside of work, I have loads of fun. I work with awesome people. In the workshops, we do fun activities. Sometimes the Lego comes out. Sometimes it's activities with pictures. Even in the boardroom, it is possible to have fun. So I try to build that into what I do. And it really helps me to decide what I'm going to do. What's going to be the most fun? It sounds a little, I don't know, what's the word? It sounds a little flippant, I guess, but it's important. It gives me energy. And finally, purpose for me. I think everybody has their own purpose, of course. And for me, it is about making the world a better place. I know that sounds a little bit naff, but I really like to focus on that, whether it's working with environmental organisations or women's organisations or the boards that I am the chair of. One is around work, they're both around workplace health and safety, actually. I'm on the nominations committee for Greenpeace. I am on the advisory council for an organisation, Annika Legal, which provides support for people in housing. So I always like to have something that's got a good purpose to it. Yeah, more on that when I get to the summary. Speaking of, so the summary part, this is about then setting your purpose for the coming year. So what I encourage people to do is once you've reflected on the year, then you chunk up into what are the 3 themes or 3 key observations from that year. For your strengths, you're going to have a whole bunch of them. At least I hope you are. I know you are. You're going to have a whole bunch of them. Particularly if you ask other people, you'll end up with all sorts of stuff in there. And then what are your 3 key strengths? Then the values, I really encourage you to come up with 3 key values. I should have said, as I talk about values, and again, this is linked in the updated version of the RSVP. I prompt you to do a second activity. It's a Brené Brown one, living into our values. And what Brené encourages us to do is to come up with your top 2 values. Yes, that's very hard. I've put down love and justice, which I know didn't appear in my third. Maybe it's love and purpose. I don't know. Sometimes these things morph around a bit. And what she asks you to do is for each of your key values, what's 1 or 2 behaviours that support your value? What's 1 or 2 slippery behaviours that are outside your value? And what's an example of a time when you were fully living into this value? So for me, some of the notes that I've put here are, if I think about love, what are some of the behaviours that support my value? I'm a foster carer. I think that supports the value of love. I also participate in a program with the YWCA called A Sister, where I mentor a young woman. That ticks fun and love. I must say, it is so fun. We get to do so many fun activities. And the other behaviour, they're activities, I guess, but one of the behaviours that I really identified that supports love is patience and listening. So what are 1 or 2 slippery behaviours? It's the flip side. It's impatience. And it's when I get really busy with things, I sometimes get a bit impatient and I'm not delivering enough love. So what's an example of a time when you're fully living into this value? I confess I haven't filled this in on the sheet. However, what comes to me is when I am grounded and have time and do my meditation, quite frankly, they are the examples of what I can do to really fully live into this value. So I encourage you to do the extra step if you can. It helps enormously to bring to life your values. There's a whole bunch of other questions as well. You can look at it on the download. It's a Brené Brown. So once you've done all of those steps, reflecting on the year that was, 3 key observations, strengths and superpowers, brainstorming on what they are, maybe getting some input from others, chunking up what are your 3 key strengths. Thirdly, values, online or scribbling on the piece of paper, thinking through what they are, thinking through how they show up for you. Then what are your 3 key values to guide? And then you use all of that to come up with your purpose for the year. So what I'm going to do is talk you through what I have come up with. You've probably worked this out, but I keep looking down because I've got it scribbled here like this. So here is my RSVP statement. In the past year, I noticed that I reconnected with connecting, and it was both awesome and very busy and full. I noticed that connecting with people takes time and it takes energy. It is awesome, but you need to leave the time and energy. Secondly, I noticed that hiking and being in nature, or even just walking in nature, or quite frankly, sometimes just staring out my window over there to the left, out into the garden and seeing the trees blowing in the wind as they are right now, connecting with nature and where possible, being out in nature and hiking is really my happy place. And thirdly, my observation is about celebrating, I guess, sometimes the cycle of life, celebrating people, celebrating what they have achieved and what they have done, but also doing that for ourselves and celebrating along the way is really important, and noticing that and celebrating, whether it's in big or small ways. My superpowers are connecting, positivity, and holding space for others. Next year, in terms of my values, my key values of fun, love, and purpose will continue to guide what I do. And I want to feel more calm and content and grounded. So I'll focus on that as well, those feelings of calmness, contentedness, if that's a word, and grounded. So bringing it all together. So to achieve this, I think my purpose for next year is to focus on holding space for me. I do that for a whole lot of other people, for my groups, individuals, sometimes family and friends, and I need to focus on holding space for me as well. So I've got the energy to do that for others. So how will I do that? What comes under that? This makes me nervous even saying it out loud. I'm going to choose at least one thing that I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to take at least one thing off the list, or at least do significantly less of it. It might be something personal. It might be something professional. I'm not quite sure what that is going to look like. I'm going to think about it over the Christmas to New Year period and maybe give you an update in the first podcast of next year. But there is going to be something that comes off my list. Secondly, I'm going to book a hike. I'm thinking I might do Larapinta next year. I did the 6-day Larapinta 2 years ago. I'm thinking I might do nervous even saying this again, but do the 14-day, the end to end. I've got a couple of weeks in June. There is one guided group of that because I don't want to do it solo. That is way too much hard work. If I want to have fun, I need somebody else doing all the hard work on it. Well, I'll do the walking, but I want somebody else doing all of the organisation. So I think I will book that, possibly this weekend. Again, you'll get an update in the first episode next year about how that's gone. Just looking at my messy notes, I think that's it for me for the year. So I will say, when I said focus on holding space for me, every year I set my goals and that helps my purpose. And then I have one of these little red dots for each year. So 2025 was reconnecting with connecting. That was my word for the year, or my guide for the year. 2024, you will have heard some of this if you're a long-time listener, was leaving space in the cup with my magnificent artwork. 2025 was about ease, building ease in, not easy, I caution, ease. 2022, less is more. And 2021, making conscious choices. So you can see I've been doing this for a while. So I think this year, again, I like to do a lot of my thinking and then just let it settle over the Christmas and New Year period. And then early on in the year, really settle what is the guide? What is the word of the year? What is the purpose for the year? So folks, that is my RSVP for the year. I strongly encourage you to take some time to do your own reflection and thinking. Use the RSVP worksheet if it is helpful for you. There is a download in the show notes and it has been slightly updated this year. So if you've done it a few years, you might find some new tools in there that are going to help you. Before I finish off for the year, some thank yous. The Take On Board podcast, the Take On Board community, all of the work that I do is not a solo journey. It is a team sport. So first up, Lisa Davis, my business manager, is just magnificent. So thank you, Lisa, for all that you do for me and for the community. Way too much to mention here, but it is amazing and I could not do it without you. Secondly, Buffy Gorilla, the podcast producer extraordinaire who brings this podcast to you each week and who this year pivoted to video. So we are now both on podcast audio and on YouTube. So thanks, Buffy, for pushing me a little bit in that and getting it out there and continuing to just get it out every week and do all of the magnificence and do the take on board times. Thirdly is the comms team. So Jackie Cooper at the start of the year, who's been with me for a couple of years, who's now gone on to do some awesomeness in the circular economy. She storyteller extraordinaire and has told my story for years. She's set up my website, told the story of all of my clients. She's amazing. And then from mid-year, Senti have been supporting the comms for Take On Board and for me. So thanks, Mel and Andrea, for all of the incredibly insightful, just their strategy brains are awesome. So you might notice a few requests or changes next year as we put in place some of the beautiful strategic ideas that they have done. Finally, thank you to you. None of this would happen without the Take On Board community. That is you, the listener, you, the watcher, people that have been involved in the Take On Board groups like Accelerator and Kickstarter. We had 4 Kickstarter groups this year and 4 Accelerator groups. The alumni, the people in the Facebook group, the people sending messages in Signal, the people coming to events. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love bringing good women and gender diverse people together to really support each other, cheer squad each other, and be a brains trust for each other. And that shows up in a whole range of ways, and it could not happen without you. So thank you for being here. I hope you all get an incredibly well-deserved break over the festive season. And the summer series will be out next week, and see you on the other side. Thanks, folks. Ciao.